Hello, my name is Kirioth, and this is part 1 of what we're calling the Beginner's Guide to the Airbrush. So recently I was lucky enough to receive a Cult of Paint evolution from Cult of Paint. The only downside is that I had no idea what I was doing with it. Fortunately though, Byron from Artis Opus, who is an accomplished painter in his own right, took pity on me and sat down with me for a few hours and went through everything from the first squirt, not like that, to angle and flow control, how to clean and maintain the airbrush. Basically everything you need to know and practice as a beginner with one of these things. So in this part we'll be covering the basics with exercises to teach you how to hold the airbrush, how to control it, how to manage the flow of paint. I hope you find it as helpful as I did. If you've just got an airbrush yourself, then by all means follow along with us. Just remember that if you make a mistake, it doesn't matter, it's all experience. Enjoy, and I will see you after so that we can talk about what to expect in the next part.
So I guess for the viewers, you set everything up, which basically included plugging your compressor in, plugging one end of your hose, which is the fat end, into the compressor, and then one end into the which is the thin end, into the airbrush, and you are now turned on and good to go.
Yeah.
I'm gonna join you. So let's keep things separate for now. And before we even discuss pressure or anything, we're going to talk about how to hold your airbrush, which would be so unfortunately the best perspective to do this from is with my eyes, but it will be on the opposite. I will still do my best though. Lefty, righty. Okay, that makes it easier. So the most important thing that people like, a lot of people pick up an airbrush and they put their thumb on the trigger. This is wrong. Some people do that. You know, it's fine that some people do that. Widely speaking, it's not the correct way to hold it. You're limited in terms of capacity, and the most helpful thing for me is you use your airbrush like more. People hold it in weird ways, but you need it to be able to dip like a bird's head. So if you imagine one of those little dippy birds with water, that is what you're going for. So what I would like you to do is, if you hold yours like this, so 2 fingers in front of it, curl it round, thumb on the body, so your thumb should be on like covering the Evo bit of the Evolution logo, and then index finger on. And it takes a little bit of jiggling to stop your finger being on it sideways. You want it to be on it down. And the easiest thing is, if you think of that poking, dipping crane motion, that is what should help you keep your airbrush.
Okay,
it will take some readjusting. Okay, so as long as you can do this nicely, like so the forwards and backwards bit, yeah, you should be good.
Yeah, that feels about right. It almost feels like kind of a pen grip, but not quite.
Yeah, exactly. You'll end up with your like this thing. If you loosen the grip, you'll end up with this finger coming out from between this 90 degrees, pretty much exactly in the middle at a 45 degree, if that makes sense. And you curl it around and you're good to go. So we've held it. That is step 1. Now absolutely rock on, plug it in, and we'll start doing the fun stuff. What pressure do you have your compressor at?
The thingy recommended between 15 and 13, so it's about 18 to 20.
Okay, yeah. Pop it up to, if you could pop it up to closer to 30 for this, that would be excellent. Okay, and now if you could, keep your eyes on that, press down your trigger so air comes out. Is air coming out?
No.
Is your compressor turned on?
Yes, because it just made a noise. So that means I've connected something up wrong, right?
Potentially. So I'll do it with mine. Here, the compressor.
There's a small... Yeah, I've not got anything coming through. There's a small screw on the side of the quick release thing.
Okay, fiddle that. That might be a side mount pressure. Try again now.
There we go. Yeah, so that
Okay,
it looks like that
through.
controls how much pressure goes through the actual airbrush itself.
Okay, so put that. I just like fanning around, so put that on maximum, and then we're gonna fiddle with a compressor that we have a value on a gauge attached to, so we're gonna know what's going on. So that should be wide open, full bore.
Yep, that's as far open as it'll go.
Wonderful. And now when you press down, you should have a consistent exiting of air, and then your compressor constantly refilling that.
Yeah,
okay,
there we go. So
I'm guessing
that was shut all the way. I probably fat fingered it as I was setting it up. I'll be honest.
Doesn't matter, dude. So if people are wondering why I'm squinting and looking weird, John's audio setup's pretty good, so I don't hear his airbrush or his compressor particularly. So if you wonder why, so that's why I might ask things that would potentially seem obvious. So you got your compressor, you're going backwards and forwards. Now we've got some nice flow going on. First thing I'd like you to do, obviously, guys, before we do any of this, me and John are having a conversation with our mouths. You should probably put a respirator on if you are airbrushing. If at any point we're not doing that, it's not because we're not advising it. So just, maybe don't bring any of those comments.
I'm
Like,
just
we're going to do our...
sticking it in front of the camera so they can see that I do
Yeah.
have the correct safety equipment. It just makes it a bit awkward whilst you're trying to record.
It does
but,
exist.
like-
Unless you want Byron to be giving you your tuition here, we're going to be doing this.
When it comes to doing like the full, because given the amount of time that I've managed to leave myself to paint 2,000 points of Soul Blight, this is going to hopefully get a fair amount of use in doing that, and I will be using the respirator whilst I do that, because if you're going to be sitting there doing this for potentially hours on end, you need to have something to block out all the fumes and the paint.
Yeah, the fumes. Opening windows for ventilation, obviously advisable. The other thing that is just completely forgotten, you can get extractors and all that type of stuff. The other thing that is completely forgotten is just airbrushing over an absorbent surface. The old one used to be felt, and I think people think that's old-fashioned and invalid. It's not. Stuff goes downwards because of gravity, and felt is absorbent. So if your surface is some laminated, super shiny desk, things will bounce off it. And if it is a fluffy one, or even I've got a very heavily engraved extra large texture palette, and that's been engraved heavily to make it more absorbent. Anything that lands on that will be sucked in rather than bouncing off. So
yeah,
I think it's kind of an undercovered part of the how do I stop it from making a mess bit. But I, generally speaking, airbrush on top of an A4 pad on my desk, and then I occasionally clean my desk. You can get a larger desk protector if that's if you have a nicer desk than I do or anything. Okay then. So the first stop is not going to be a miniature for us. It is going to be a piece of paper. We're getting really advanced here. So let's grab a sheet of white paper, and then we're not even going to put any paint in yet. Just put a couple of drops of thinner in your brush. And what I'd like you to do, John, is just have a play. It's you can use water for this, but we'll use thinner at this point. So just put like 5 drops or something negligible in there.
3, 4, 5. Oh, that's a little bit more than 5, but it's fine.
That's absolutely fine. It doesn't matter to any degree whatsoever. So press down is on, and then pulled back is how far you go between sniper aim and shotgun aim.
Okay. So there's like a level of control that you kind of need to get used to.
Yeah, and it's just how much you pull it back. So have a little play. The other thing to play with is how close or far you are from your object.
See. Okay.
So you could be at not wide gauge, but your airbrush would be further back, and it would have more time for the that angle to continue and for the covered space to get wider. And if you're closer, there is less distance and time for that angle to increase. Therefore, you'll be doing something more narrow.
Yeah. Okay.
How's it feeling? Because I can't see it at this point. So I'm also guessing.
That's actually a way easier to control than I thought it would be. So I've done like the first one was sort of like a sort of shoddy cloud sort of shape.
Yeah.
But straight away going down into doing something that's like quite fine, just like a thin line, and then doing I've just done like a right angle. Yeah. Actually, really way easier than I thought it would be. I just kind of assumed that with like the hose and the like all the extra stuff that's attached, it would be more tricky, but it's not.
Our hands are made to do dexterous tasks, and you might have held a paintbrush a few times in your life, so it's not bad practice whatsoever. It's just a bit heavier, and over sustained periods it could get a bit more weird. Now, the next thing that I would like you to do is, if you could take this is your sheet of paper. If you could airbrush it at like a more, is this an obtuse, or I can't, this angle, like a really, really like, so 90 degrees is ideal for stuff hitting and landing. Okay. Go to like either 5 degrees or 10 degrees or 170, depending which way we're measuring from. Okay. What you should find is that your stuff is not landing on the paper, particularly. And if you go from 90, it'll land and it'll stay and it'll soak in instantly.
just getting a. Oh yeah, I see. So even with
So
the brush like right up against the paper but really low down, there's just
just
a kind of
just doesn't want to land.
yeah. It's almost like
Yeah,
it's deflecting off
yeah, it is.
unless
It's
you kind of
refracting.
dip down
So
a bit
now,
further.
now you could either tilt your brush or tilt your paper. Doesn't matter. If you put one at 90 degrees to the other, it will land and stay there. So this is quite an important one that I think it just doesn't particularly get covered hugely unless you do an in-person lesson.
Yeah.
Um, the angle that paint is going to stick at the most readily. This all sounds like very obvious stuff, but if you're facing exactly the thing you're doing, your paint will adhere really well, or more readily. It's much more happy to. And if you're more at this type of angle, it's much more likely to just go "Pew," and bounce off. Okay, then. So now, if you could grab it doesn't matter, something dark and strong. That could be a black paint. It could be a black. If you've got like an airbrush primer, it could be. It doesn't matter hugely what it is. We will do our first bit of mixing.
Well, funnily enough, I've got some. I always pronounce it wrong. Vallejo,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
close enough. Some metallic black, which I was planning to use on
Yeah.
some of my soul blight stuff.
Why not,
So,
man? Okay. So, how many drops would you say you have of thinner in your airbrush?
oh, there's a question. At this point, I'm actually not sure.
Well, tell you what, exit all of it onto that paper and do it at the 90-degree angle so it just soaks it all up, and that'll give you an idea of what it's like when you go fully.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. I pressed down and went all the way back. It just like it properly just
Spider.
splurges out, doesn't it?
Yeah, you made a spider. You made your first spider. There may be some more of those to come.
Okay.
Okay. You're doing pretty well so far.
all right. I'm gonna remember
Okay,
that.
all exited. So really important thing here, absolute like one of the top 5 tips for using an airbrush. Thinner goes in first, always, no exceptions unless you're not using any thinner, which is rare. So I
right.
would go for like even if it's just 1 drop of thinner, this will make sure because you're using I don't know if it's an airbrush ready paint that you have.
Yes, it is.
Okay, then yeah, so like 1 to 2 drops of thinner will be absolutely fine, but you just want it to not be landing on naked metal.
Right.
Um,
So it's almost like a protective layer, kind
yeah,
of.
it's just a lubricant layer, and especially if you're priming or something, there's no downside to this. Really, you're not going to end up with worse coverage. So pop that in, and then get like probably 4 or 5 drops of the next one. Give it a shake first.
Ugh,
That'll be good. It's an airbrush one. They don't need nearly so much agitating unless they've been sat still for like 3 years or something.
that's a really cool
So
color. I, I picked it specifically because I asked guy called Jay from Mohawk Miniatures, like,
yeah,
hey, what would you do with this weird force of monstrosities that I've made? And one of the first things he said was like a dark metal color for weapons would work pretty well.
yeah.
So I I grabbed this thinking, I mean, black metallic sounds like it'd be just about
Why
right.
not?
So
That should have baller coverage, I would imagine. So like
okay,
4 or 5 in there, and then get a brush that you don't care about and give it a little bit of mix around in the cup. So you want something old and ideally not like a super poopy one that's going to shed bristles. Some people have a particular brush for it.
okay.
Some people mix this in separate trays. I don't think I think like me, John's probably not the type of person to do that. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just more fastidious and a bit more faffy, in my opinion. So
That's a relatively healthy brush, but it's also very very cheap. So that'll
okay
do.
then, let's hope it doesn't shed any bristles. So give it a mix. Okay, I'm gonna get you to do something now, which I would like you to exercise care in. So,
Okay.
do you have a crown cap on your brush?
Yes.
Is it a crown cap or is it is
Um.
it round? You've, no, the
Oh,
on
on
the
the end.
yeah.
I do. Yeah.
So
So it's just a round.
pull that off, and
Okay.
in your case that came with your brush, you should have a crown cap. Should come off.
Okay. Yep. I've
If
got that.
you
Now we can just see a tiny needle.
Yep. Which we're gonna look after, guys. This is, if something goes wrong,
It'll be
uh,
that bit.
it'll be us like tipping this onto its face. on its needle.
I
So
would
yeah, just
really prefer not to do that. I'm going to be very
so
careful. I'll tell you what, why don't I put that down instead of trying to
put
hold it
it
in my
down.
hand?
It's all good. I'll talk. I'll fill. So this crown cap, guys, it's not going to protect your. Let me take. It's very close here. It's not going to protect your needle 100% will it, but it will do a damn good job. And most of the damage will be from you dropping it like this or like that, which it will protect against. The reason for asking John to do this is it's going to give us the ability to back flush or gargle our airbrush. Have you got your cap on there?
Okay, I'm just putting on now. Is it then? Is there any particular like orientation it needs to be, or does it not matter?
I have it so it is vertical,
Okay.
the two spikes. And that means if you drop it downwards, the first thing that lands is going to be
Yeah,
like the
that makes sense. As you started replying, I was like, really, there's only one way that makes sense for protecting it. So.
I don't know. You could end up bashing it sideways or something. So now what I'd like you to do, John, is pinch. You'll notice the shape of it. This also is the reason to do it this way. So pinch it and completely cut off air to the end of your brush.
Okay, like just right. I've got
Yeah,
it like properly pinched.
yeah. And now press down and pull back carefully, and it should bubble a little.
Okay.
You'll hear it more than see it. You can see it as well if you're looking in there. Little
Okay.
bubbles.
Yep, I got little bubbles.
Wonderful. So the reason for doing this, guys, is that in the end of John's airbrush now, because we put the thinner in first, is thinner. It's not thinner in paint. So we've just made sure that they are mixed around. Okay, you are now good to go. And what I would like you to do is just try and write your name for me, please.
This is just going to show off how terrible my handwriting is.
Hey, yeah, dude, my airbrush writing is better than my handwriting. You might be surprised.
I might be in with in with a chance. Okay. All right.
You can do
So
it fast, you can do it slow, you can do it big, you can do it small. It doesn't matter. We're just practicing flow here, basically. All I can see is a glowing white sheet of paper.
okay, I think I went out of. Okay, that took a little bit of practice. Hang on, I will show you my terrible 5-year-old effort.
Hey, I can tell what that says. That's good.
It's close
Now
enough,
I would
right?
like you to just do it and care less and go faster. It's like forgetting Sarah
Okay,
Marshall. Do less. Just literally like John, like that
okay.
on, and just go for it. Just be more flowy. Don't worry about it too much. How did that turn out?
That's
There we go. Okay then.
yeah, that's all right.
Now, if you could try it with pretty much your airbrush touching it and keep it fine, you'll probably want to slow down for doing this.
Okay, so like super close, but like
Yeah.
really fine. Oh, trying to work. Oh no, I splurged it.
This is where it starts,
Oh,
guys. So this
yeah,
is
no, there we go. I've already just massive
black
thick
on white
line,
is
big splotch.
unforgiving as all hell as well. So this is why it's good to learn with because it's definitely gonna have good coverage whatever you do.
Yeah.
You know exactly what's going on.
Okay,
Okay,
try that again. I'm just gonna
yeah, give it another
go
bash.
super. I think it's finding like the exact kind of trigger point for. Oh,
What you'll find yourself doing is you just won't keep your finger still. You'll think you are, but it'll creep forwards or backwards or something like that. And it's just because you've not used one before.
yeah, I've splodged again. Okay.
That's all good. Okay, so I'm going to now demonstrate how much it makes it harder when you try and do something complex, like something that changes angles, like writing your name. So what I'd like you to do is try the same thing, pretty much brush on the sheet of paper, but just do me a straight line, like left to right.
Okay.
Um, just do a straight line across the sheet of paper and try and keep it at the same. And go fast if you want, go slow, doesn't matter particularly.
Okay. Just a straight. Yeah, it's when you think you've got the trigger like just right, but then it shifts or like you move your finger slightly. It's weird because doing it with the thinner, I felt like I got a consistent line, but then you look at that
Yeah.
and it suddenly becomes like I don't know. It's harder to control.
So yeah, so
Okay.
I'd like you to just do a balls deep chunky line now, not all the way back because that'll go a bit mental, but pull back more and just don't go so slow and just confidently go across and try and make that line, keeping your hand the same distance away. How's that one turned out?
That's actually way better. Pretty
Good,
consistent
solid,
all the way
great,
across.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, now I have a final one. What I'm trying to do here is get you to realize that being confident with your approach does make a difference. So I'd like
Yeah.
you to just do some swirlies that you don't. Can I swear? The
Yeah, go for
swearing. Okay, that you don't give a shit about. Just do swirlies like in a corner of it and do something like this. Something where you know you are encouraged to go fast, chill out, and not worry too much. So just make some swirls and you can go closer or further or start or stop or
Okay.
whatever. And chill out your wrist, like just like this, all of your arm. How those boys turned out.
You're right. It's weird how as soon as you just go, okay, I'm just going to do it, I relaxed almost straight away
Brilliant. Amazing.
into
Wonderful.
keeping something consistent, which it
Okay.
feels kind of counterintuitive. It almost feels like you should be aiming to be more careful with it.
Oh
But
yeah,
actually,
right.
as soon as you just kind of relax into it, it's way more easy to control. I think it's just getting a bit tense means your finger shifts more on the trigger,
Ab-
maybe?
Absolutely, dude. And I mean, we're not even going to cover seating position or desk height or anything in this. I see, as probably can you probably see here, like I sit pretty low to my desk. That's a couple of reasons. It allows my recording to be over me because I'm awfully fidgety. And I find that helpful, but also it lets me be, you know, I can rest my wrist in a helpful point and stuff like that. And normally I will be anchoring my miniature with my left hand, and I don't tend to move the range of my airbrush particularly much. I change where my miniature is quite a lot. So
Yeah.
if I grab a, how do I not have a miniature close to me? And
Especially given, was it the no, it was the video before last on Artis Opus, wasn't it? That was like the entire Head Knights of Slanesh army that you did
exactly.
in like 2 days. Which, by the way, is absolutely worth watching, especially because I'm pretty sure if I attempted to do that, it would look like someone went, "Here's two colours. I'm sure that's fine." Whereas yours actually really good.
I basically use purple and green, so not too far from there too. Thank you. No, it turned out all right. I've done enough stints to know that it was gonna be okay to whatever degree I managed to get it finished.
Yeah.
So I've just dusted it up, which is another wonderful use of your airbrush. So I've dusted up a very old one of these little bumblebee things from 40K. Now if I'm painting this, we've already covered angles. I'll cover corner angles in a second, but if I'm painting, you know, I might do little circles or I might do, you know, both them further, but like I'm not gonna do this. I'm gonna
Yeah.
move it around with this hand because you know, looking down it, I know what's going on. I know where this is gonna land, and one of the most difficult things as a beginner is knowing that if this is the tip of your airbrush and this is your model, or like this is your sheet of paper rather, like is my paint going to appear here or here or here or here or here? And
Yeah.
we're going to put John through an exercise shortly on
Okay.
that. It's going to be fun. So anyway, moving the thing makes a big difference is basically what I'm getting at there. And if you were lower to your desk, maybe you'd find it easier to brace your hand or something like that. So that's something we can look at in the future.
Yeah.
So we've just done a nice, confident, wiggly line. What I would like you to do now, stay. It's like I don't know. It sounds like a cliche, but just stay chilled out. And I want you to just just enjoy the process and put down a few dots in the line. And you know you'll learn something about whether you should be close or far back. I'm not going to give you a size to aim for. Just go for whatever you're doing and have fun with it.
I have to admit, it's interesting you mentioned about having the airbrush kind of almost like dead on and looking down it, because with
Yeah.
filming this, angling this paper up so that it's at more of a direct angle is really helping in terms of controlling it, because it just feels a lot more direct. I
Yeah,
can't
it's
like
landing
stick
at
my
90
face up
degrees.
against it, but
Yeah,
yeah,
your airbrush is exactly at 90 degrees to your paper, give or take, 10
yeah.
degrees. All right, so go along dots however you like.
It's there we go. Okay. Also, working out like the aim of it
Yeah, man.
is interesting.
Oh, you wait until stage two.
Oh, the splurge.
I saw that one. I can see
Yeah,
them at this
that's.
angle. This is helpful for me too. It's all good, man. It's just part of the journey.
I feel like this is something where you eventually just get used to where the different like trigger points
Yeah.
are.
You'll also find out if you want to be pulling back more or less, and if you want to be closer or further. The distance, like there's a lot more going on than what you do with your index finger on that trigger with an airbrush. I think people probably don't realize how much, just holding stuff at the right angle makes a huge difference, for example. Let's see your dots then. How they come out.
Again, the more you do it, the easier it becomes to control.
Oh, nice one.
Where yeah,
Perfect. Okay, so on that clear top right hand bit of your page, if you could just do me like some dots at like 1 inch intervals, like 4 or 5 of them or whatever, or like 2 centimeters, 1 centimeter, it doesn't matter hugely.
okay, let's.
If people are waiting for us to start on a miniature, you're going to be sorely disappointed.
I
This
feel
is
like
really useful stuff. This is incredibly useful, and this is where everyone should start, in my opinion. If you're going to start on a model, pick a big chunky brick, or like a ship with flat wings or something like that.
I'm trying to get it to the point where there's like a consistent,
Let's have a look. How they
consistent
doing?
size.
It's all good, man.
Yeah, it's
Okay
a
then.
little. That was weirdly harder, not having something to aim for, and also,
Yeah.
in a way, judging distance got really hard for a second there. I think I was focusing so much on like where's my finger on top of the trigger that I kind of like drifted
Yeah.
from side to side somewhat, as opposed to like focusing on the distance between them.
Absolutely. Yeah. Can you drop your chair down? Can it go lower
I
than it
don't know
is?
that it can. No, this
If
is
you
this is as low as I can go.
Okay then. That could help with the wrist bracing thing. Right. What I'd like you to do
I might end
next,
up
I'm
airbrushing sitting on the
really
floor.
yeah,
That might be the way to go.
I'm sat on a little box, literally. It's fantastic.
It's like a little
So what I'm
a
gonna
little
do,
stool, so that I'm lower down and able to lean
a
on the
potty
desk
training
more.
one.
That might work.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I've got one of those. I've got two kids. There's got to be one
With
lying around
elephants on it
somewhere.
or something, or
Yeah.
clowns. Brilliant. Okay, next step, which I really wish I was here in person for, is I would like you to try and dot your dots.
Oh, the ones I've just done.
Yeah,
Uh,
rock on.
okay.
So first of all, like give your do something for me. Pop your airbrush down. Give your hands a wiggle. I know this will feel like you're
Yeah.
a child learning tennis or something, but
It's
just give your hands a wiggle and give you like loosen up a bit,
it is
and
genuinely a bit weird because
you'll be over gripping.
it's yeah. I can already feel that like I've kind of I don't know how to properly show this on camera, but normally my
Yeah,
hands I tend to have them stretched out a bit more, but they're
yeah.
automatically going back to just the same shape
You'll be
again.
concentrating so much as well, and like over gripping, overthinking, or just trying to put what we talk about into practice. So
Yeah.
let's go again, and we'll try and dot those dots. And this will be a fairly difficult task. So
Okay.
it's fine if this doesn't go according to plan whatsoever.
Okay. So dot the dots I just did. I mean,
Yeah.
surely what could go wrong? He says.
Is it coming out where you think it's coming out?
Once I'd adjusted, yes. It wasn't to start with because I
It looked
realised that
consistently.
I had the paper at a slightly different angle, which
Yeah.
made a
No, they,
huge difference. Because the first two, I was like, they're like more to the right than they should be. And then as soon as I realised that it was
yeah.
down to the angle of the paper, because it wasn't at like that kind of right angle, as soon as I realised that, I could adjust and it was okay. But yeah, that's something to remember because I can easily see myself doing something, looking away or putting something down, picking it back up, and it being just that little bit off, and then
But just start, yeah,
yeah,
just start remembering it. So I don't wear gloves when I airbrush. People can if they want. It doesn't matter whether you do or don't. But if I'm trying to do something precise, I'll often practice on my thumb, on my left thumb,
yeah,
which is going to be close to the bit of the miniature I'm painting, just to gauge that. Or you'll see me in some videos starting like off model. And if I'm trying to just about catch an edge, I'll start off model with the airbrush and then I'll bring it back. And then, once I'm happy, instead of just trying to aim perfectly here, which isn't forgiving, I'll aim off, find the point, and then I'll be like, okay, we're good.
yeah, yeah.
All right. Okay. Are we ready for the next bit? This is something that will this is the big unlock that you get with airbrushes beyond base coating. So what I'd like you to do is do a teeny tiny dot, if at all possible. And I'd like you to bring your airbrush backwards and release more paint as you go. So like let's say this is at 10% paint, come back a little bit, 30%, 60%, 90%, or whatever. You might not need to go to 100, but just try and increase it a bit as you go backwards. Don't worry, it's learning exercise. It doesn't have to be perfect or anything. It's just to give you an idea of how things feel.
So
start and then just steadily bring it back and open it up a bit.
Oh.
It's all right, dude. It's all good.
All right. Let's...
It's a progressive. So this is the thing that takes the longest to get. That's good. Stop.
Okay.
Right, show us what you did.
Okay, that kind of made sense. It went a bit mad at the end, but
that's all good.
Yeah,
that's fine.
I was kind of getting a feel for that as I did it, but there's definitely a lot of paint on there now.
That's all good, dude. So you will literally start getting a feel for the feel, actually, because like you're going to be holding it, you'll feel some airflow with your left hand and stuff like that. But also the sound, it's a more organic process than I think people realize.
There you go. That was part 1. I hope you found that helpful. Next time we're going to be looking at basically finer control along with angles and edges and how to approach them with the airbrush itself. So come back for that. Hopefully that has given you a good start with what to do with your new magical, wonderful device. Don't forget to check out Artist Opus. I will link their channel in the description. Also, if you are looking at buying one of these airbrushes yourself, then there are links to the suppliers for the UK and the US. Again, in the description below. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you for the next one.